Ladies, let me tell you something powerful. Something that changes the game, not just in relationships, but in life itself. The moment you detach, the moment you stop chasing, worrying, and overinvesting in a man, is the moment he starts chasing you. Men are biologically wired to pursue. They crave challenge, they respect what they can't easily have, and they value what they must work for. But so many women make the mistake of giving everything up front, emotionally, mentally, even physically, without requiring anything in return. And then they wonder why men pull away, why they lose interest, why the relationship feels like a constant struggle. The secret? Detachment. Not coldness, not playing games, but a deep inner knowing that you are the prize. That you don't need to convince any man of your worth, because the right man will see it on his own. Here are the 7 reasons why men can't resist a woman who detaches. She walks into the room and something shifts. Not because she demands attention, not because she's the loudest or the most extravagant, but because she carries herself with a presence that is undeniable. She is a woman who doesn't just exist, she thrives. And the energy she exudes is not one of need, but of choice. She is detached in the most beautiful way, not indifferent, not cold, but complete within herself. That's what makes her magnetic. There's something remarkable about a woman who is whole on her own, a woman who doesn't seek external validation, who isn't looking for someone to come along and fill an empty space. She radiates confidence, not because she's trying to prove something, but because she has nothing to prove. She's already enough. She's done the work, faced the darkness, and emerged with a kind of self-awareness that makes her unstoppable. And when she enters a space, that energy speaks before she ever says a word. Men notice it. Not in the way they notice a woman wearing a striking dress or a carefully curated smile, but in a way that is instinctual, almost primal. There's an aura about her that says, I choose to be here and I choose who gets access to me. It's not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's knowing her worth so deeply that she would rather be alone than settle for something that dims her light. That level of detachment isn't about not caring, it's about caring for herself first. And that's what draws people in. Think about the women in history who have commanded admiration and respect. Not the ones who chased, but the ones who simply existed in their truth, so powerfully that they attracted everything meant for them. Audrey Hepburn wasn't revered just for her beauty. She had an effortless elegance that came from knowing exactly who she was. Princess Diana captivated the world not because she demanded attention, but because her presence was undeniable. Even modern icons like Rihanna. They don't beg, they don't chase, they don't need, they simply are. And the world can't look away. But what does this kind of confidence look like in everyday life? It's in the way she moves, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself through both triumphs and failures. It's in the way she says no without apology and yes without hesitation. It's in the way she values her time, her energy, and her space. She doesn't settle for relationships that drain her, friendships that belittle her, or environments that stifle her growth. She doesn't entertain people who make her question her worth. She walks away from anything that doesn't align with the life she is building, not because she's afraid of being alone, but because she refuses to be somewhere that doesn't serve her. There's a moment when a woman stops waiting for someone to choose her and starts choosing herself. And in that moment, everything changes. She no longer contorts herself to fit someone else's expectations. She doesn't diminish herself to make others comfortable. She doesn't hold back her laughter, her opinions, or her ambition. She owns every part of who she is, flaws and all, because she knows that true confidence isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about showing up exactly as she is and knowing that she is enough. The irony? The moment she embraces this detachment, the moment she stops seeking, she starts attracting. The right people, the right opportunities, the right energy, not because she's manipulating, not because she's playing a game, but because her self-assurance is magnetic. She doesn't need to prove her worth, she embodies it. And that kind of energy is impossible to ignore. So what stops most women from reaching this place? Fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being chosen. Fear of stepping into their power and losing people who can't handle it. But the truth is, when a woman fully embraces her worth, She doesn't lose, she gains. She gains freedom. She gains peace. She gains a life where she is the author, not a supporting character in someone else's story. There's a difference between chasing and attracting, between needing and choosing, between settling and thriving. The women who embody confidence don't wait for permission. They don't wait to be validated. They don't wait for someone else to tell them they're enough. They already know, and that knowing, it changes everything. She is the kind of woman who, when she walks into a room, the air shifts, not because she demands attention, but because she commands it, simply by being. She is magnetic, she is radiant, and she is untouchable in the most beautiful way. Not because she is unapproachable, but because she is whole. And that, more than anything, is what makes her truly powerful. Men are wired to chase. It's in their DNA. It's not just a habit, not just a behavior. It's instinct. The thrill of the chase, the excitement of the unknown, the desire to conquer, it all lives deep within them. And yet so many women today unknowingly strip men of that very drive, suffocating their natural instincts in a desperate attempt to hold on to their love. But love is not meant to be gripped with white-knuckled fear. It flourishes in freedom. And the woman who understands this holds the power to be truly irresistible. Think about the moments in your life when you have felt the most drawn to someone. It wasn't when they were standing in front of you begging for your attention. It wasn't when they were constantly checking in, always available, always saying yes. No, it was when there was an air of mystery, when their life seemed so full, so rich, so captivating that you found yourself craving just a moment of their time. That's the kind of energy that pulls people in. That's the kind of energy that triggers the instinct to chase. Men don't fall in love with women who make them the center of their universe. They fall in love with women who are the center of their own universe. A woman who is on a mission, a woman who wakes up every day with purpose. A woman who is too busy creating, living, dreaming, and achieving to sit around waiting for a text or a call. That kind of woman is a force of nature. That kind of woman makes a man stop in his tracks and say, I need to be part of her world. We've been conditioned to believe that in order to keep a man's interest, we need to prove our worth. We need to be overly accommodating, overly available, overly eager to please. But that is a lie. When you give too much too soon, you don't earn love, you earn complacency. You become taken for granted. You become background noise in his life. The harsh truth is that nothing dulls desire faster than certainty. When he knows you're always there, always available, always waiting, he stops seeing you as something to win. And when a man stops chasing, he stops appreciating. The strongest relationships are built on mutual admiration, not obligation. That admiration comes from space, from a little bit of distance, from the challenge of earning each other's time. A man wants to feel like he has to work for you. He wants to feel like he has to prove himself. That's what makes him feel alive. That's what makes the connection exciting, fresh, electric. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding human nature. A woman who embodies detachment is not cold. She is not uninterested. She simply operates from a place of confidence. She knows her worth, and she does not feel the need to beg for attention or demand affection. She moves through the world knowing that her presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. She does not chase, she does not cling, she simply exists in her power, and that power is magnetic. The moment you stop seeking validation from a man, the moment you stop structuring your life around his attention, is the moment you reclaim your own magic. You become the prize. And when you become the prize, you trigger something deep inside him, a need to pursue, to earn, to cherish. He starts wondering what you're up to, who you're with, what's occupying your time. He starts to see you through a new lens, not as someone who needs him, but as someone he needs. Detachment does not mean you don't care. It means you care more about your own happiness, your own fulfillment, your own journey, than you do about whether or not he texts you back. It means you know that your value is not tied to his approval. It means you understand that a relationship should be an addition to your life, not the foundation of it. And when you embody that truth, you radiate an energy that is irresistible. Men fall in love with women who challenge them, women who keep them on their toes, women who have a life so full and so exciting that he feels honored just to be part of it. That is the key. That is the magic. That is what makes the difference between being a fleeting thought in a man's mind and being the woman he can't stop thinking about. So stop waiting, stop obsessing, stop making someone else the center of your world while forgetting to be the center of your own. Love yourself first, chase your dreams first, live your life first. And when you do, the right person will chase you, not because they have to, but because they simply can't resist. When a woman allows herself to be overly invested in a relationship, something subtle but profound happens. She gives away her power. She becomes like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by every text, every call, every moment of attention or lack thereof. If he reaches out, she feels seen. If he withdraws, she spirals into self-doubt. And suddenly her entire emotional state is dictated by someone else, someone who may not even realize the weight of that responsibility. But the truth is, no one should ever hold that much power over your emotions. No one should determine your worth by how much they choose to engage with you, because your value isn't defined by someone else's attention. It's defined by the way you see yourself, and that is where everything shifts. When a woman decides to take control of her emotions, to detach from this need for external validation, she doesn't become cold. She becomes magnetic. She steps into a place of confidence that says, I am whole with or without you. And when that happens, the energy of the relationship transforms. Suddenly, she's not the one chasing, not the one waiting for a message, not the one giving her emotional stability away in pieces, hoping for reciprocation. Instead, she becomes the force that draws the other person in. It's in that space of detachment, not indifference, but security within herself, that she commands a different kind of attention. A man starts to notice. He starts to feel the absence of desperation, of neediness, of the pressure to be the center of someone's universe. And instead of feeling like he's leading the relationship, he finds himself pulled in by something he can't quite place. He starts to ask himself, what is it about her? Why does she stand out? Why isn't she reacting the way so many others have? And suddenly, that mystery, because here's the secret. Confidence is intoxicating. Security in oneself is rare. Most people, whether they admit it or not, are seeking some form of external validation. But when someone walks into a room with the energy of knowing exactly who they are, without needing anyone else's approval, people take notice. They lean in. They want to understand what makes that person different. And in relationships, that energy is everything. This isn't about playing games. It's not about manipulation or pretending not to care. It's about genuinely understanding that your emotional state is yours to control. It's about knowing that no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. It's about recognizing that you are enough as you are, and that any relationship should be an addition to your life, not the sole source of your happiness. And the most beautiful part? When you step into this power, the right people rise to meet you. You attract those who respect your independence, who admire your strength, who aren't intimidated by the fact that you don't need them to feel whole, but choose to share your life with them anyway. Because that's what real connection is. It's not about filling a void. It's about two whole people coming together, both strong, both secure, and both choosing every day to be in each other's lives. And that is what shifts the dynamic. That is what changes everything. Not just in relationships, but in life. When you hold your own power, when you control your emotional state, when you decide that your worth is not dependent on someone else's perception, you become unstoppable. And people will be drawn to that, not because you're trying to get them to, but because real confidence, real security is the rarest and most attractive quality of all. There's something undeniable about the energy a woman carries when she is deeply rooted in herself. When she walks into a room with a quiet confidence that doesn't scream for attention but effortlessly draws it. That kind of woman, the one who is at peace, who radiates a calm, self-assured presence, becomes the place where a man wants to rest his soul. She is his safe haven, not his emotional crutch. Men are not looking for someone to complete them. They are not looking for a mother, a savior, or someone to fix them. A man falls deeply, irrevocably in love, not because he is needed, but because he wants to be there. Because in her presence, he finds something he didn't even realize he was missing. A sanctuary from the noise of the world, a place where he can breathe, where he doesn't have to perform, where he can simply be. That kind of space is rare. That kind of woman is unforgettable. But here's what happens too often. Women pour themselves into a relationship thinking that love is about proving their worth, about showing up in every possible way, caring, fixing, sacrificing, until they are exhausted. They think that if they just do enough, give enough, love enough, he will finally see them, choose them, cherish them. But love does not work that way. Love is not a transaction. Love is not a test where the one who tries the hardest wins. A man does not fall in love with effort. He falls in love with ease. He falls in love when being with you feels like peace, not pressure. When your presence is not another responsibility on his to-do list, but the space where he can put down all his burdens and feel safe. That safety doesn't come from you fixing his problem. It comes from knowing he can be vulnerable with you without judgment, that he can share his dreams, his fears, his failures without feeling like he is disappointing you or adding to your weight. A woman who is her own source of happiness, who does not depend on a man to fill her emotional gaps, creates an environment where love flourishes. When she is whole on her own, she does not seek validation from his attention. She does not need to control, to chase, to cling. Instead, she simply exists in a way that is irresistible. Because nothing is more attractive than a woman who chooses herself first, not in selfishness, but in self-respect. She is magnetic because she moves through the world with a sense of purpose beyond the relationship. She has her own passions, her own life, her own joy, and in doing so, she invites a man to step up, to want to be part of that world, not out of obligation, but out of desire. This doesn't mean she doesn't care. It doesn't mean she doesn't love deeply, but her love is not desperate. It is not clinging. It is not built on the need to be needed. It is built on the freedom of choice. And that is the most powerful form of love. Because when a man chooses you not because he has to, but because he can't imagine his life without you, that love is unshakable. Think about the most captivating women you have ever met. Were they the ones constantly seeking approval? Were they the ones bending over backward to prove their worth? No. They were the ones who knew their worth before anyone else did. They were the ones who carried themselves with a quiet assurance, who didn't chase but attracted, who didn't demand love but inspired it. Men, just like women, want to feel free in love. They want to choose, not be cornered. They want to feel like they are stepping into something beautiful, not something that requires constant fixing or managing. When a woman becomes his peace, not his pressure, he doesn't just fall in love, he stays. Because that kind of love, that kind of presence, is rare. And so the real question isn't how to make him love you more. It isn't how to keep his attention or how to make him stay. The real question is, how deeply do you love yourself? How much peace do you bring into your own life? Because the love you want starts there. It starts with being the woman who doesn't need to prove anything, who simply is, who exists in her fullest, most radiant, most peaceful form. And from that place, love is no longer something you chase, it's something that finds you. There's something powerful about a woman who refuses to settle, a woman who doesn't chase, who doesn't beg, who doesn't waste her energy trying to prove her worth. Instead, she stands firm in the knowing that she is already enough. She doesn't need to be chosen because she chooses herself. And in doing so, she invites a man to step into his highest self, not through demands, not through manipulation, but by being an unwavering example of what is possible. A woman who is detached isn't cold. She isn't indifferent. In fact, she is the opposite. She is deeply connected to herself, to her standards, to her truth. She understands the value of her energy, and she refuses to spend it on anything or anyone that does not honor her. That kind of self-assurance is magnetic. It challenges a man in the best possible way. It invites him to rise, to meet her at her level, or to step aside. Men don't respect what is given freely, they respect what is earned, not because they are cruel or dismissive, but because they are wired to value what they work for. Effort builds attachment. When something is too easy, when there is no challenge, no demand for growth, it becomes disposable. And a woman who knows her worth, she is anything but disposable. She is the rarest of finds, and the right man knows it the moment he sees her. A detached woman does not tolerate inconsistency. She does not make excuses for lukewarm effort. She does not sit around analyzing mixed signals, hoping that one day a man will wake up and realize she was worth it all along. She already knows she is worth it, and so she walks. She walks away from anything that does not meet her at the level she deserves. And in doing so, she does something extraordinary. She creates space for a man to step up. When a woman holds herself to a higher standard, she extends an unspoken invitation for a man to do the same. She is not waiting for him to be better. She is simply being better herself. And that energy, it is intoxicating. It calls a man forward. It forces him to ask himself, am I capable of being the man she deserves? And the right man will answer that question with action. He will rise. Not because she asked him to, not because she begged or pleaded, but because he wants to be a man worthy of the space she is willing to hold. This is not about manipulation. This is not about playing games. This is about self-respect. This is about refusing to lower your standards for temporary companionship. Because here's the truth. A man's best self is not unlocked by a woman who makes things easy. It is unlocked by a woman who demands greatness. Not through words, but through presence, through expectation, through an unwavering commitment to her own worth. It is easy to think that love means proving yourself, that love means giving and giving until there is nothing left. But real love? Real love is not born from sacrifice. It is born from alignment. A powerful woman does not demand a man's respect. She commands it simply by knowing who she is. And a man who is truly meant for her will recognize that. He will not be intimidated by her standards. He will not run from the challenge. He will see it as an opportunity to become the man he was always capable of being. This is why a woman who knows her worth is so rare, because most people settle. Most people would rather have something, anything, than risk having nothing at all. But a woman who understands the power of detachment knows that loneliness is not the enemy, settling is. She would rather walk alone in the truth of her own value than shrink herself for someone who does not see it. And that kind of woman changes a man, not by force, not by persuasion, but by simply existing as proof of what is possible. She doesn't need to convince him. She doesn't need to argue her case. She is the case. And the right man, he will recognize that. He will meet her there. He will rise not because she demanded it, but because he sees her and knows that she is worth every ounce of effort he has to give. Men do not fall in love with women who make it easy. They fall in love with women who make them better, who inspire them to rise, who challenge them to step into their highest selves. And a detached woman? She does not inspire love through need. She inspires love through strength, through certainty, through an unshakable knowing that she is already whole, with or without a man. And when a man meets a woman like that, he has a choice. He can step forward or he can step aside, but he cannot stay the same. Because the presence of a truly powerful woman does not allow for stagnation. It calls a man forward, demands he grow, forces him to see himself in a way he never has before. And that is the gift, that is the magic, not just for him, but for both of them. Because when two people meet at their highest selves, that is where true partnership begins. That is where love is not just an emotion, but a force that elevates, that expands, that transforms. And that is the kind of love that lasts. There is an undeniable power in the woman who stays in her feminine energy. It is a presence you feel before she even speaks, an aura of grace, confidence, and unwavering self-trust. She is not the woman who grasps, who forces, who demands. She is the woman who receives, who allows, who knows deep in her soul that What is meant for her will always find her, and that is exactly why it does. Masculine energy is all about pursuit, the chase, the fixing, the controlling of outcomes. It is the force that pushes, that strategizes, that relentlessly seeks to solve. And while this energy is necessary, it is not where a woman's deepest power lies. Feminine energy is the opposite. It is about reception, trusting, flowing, allowing things to unfold with a knowing that does not need proof to be real. It is magnetic, undeniable, and it requires nothing but presence. This energy is not passive, it is potent. It does not chase, yet it attracts more effortlessly than any action ever could. The mistake so many women make is believing they must control love to have it, that they must micromanage relationships, seek constant validation, or prove their worth through effort. But effort is not the language of feminine energy. When a woman is too attached to an outcome, she shifts into her masculine energy. She becomes the pursuer, the fixer, the one always trying to hold everything together. And what happens? The very thing she chases retreats. The very connection she longs to deepen begins to feel like a struggle. Not because she is unworthy, not because she is doing something wrong, but because she is operating from the wrong energy. Men, true masculine men, are drawn to women who lean into their feminine energy, because in doing so, she creates space. Space for him to step into his role as a leader, a provider, a protector. Space for him to show up, not because he is forced to, but because he is inspired to. A woman who understands her feminine power does not beg for attention. She does not plead for love. She does not make fear-based decisions to keep someone in her life. She knows that her presence is a gift, and she moves with a quiet, unshakable confidence that says, I am worthy, I trust myself, I do not need to chase what is already mine. There is something breathtaking about a woman who truly embodies this. She doesn't get caught in the frantic energy of proving her value because she knows her value is not up for debate. She doesn't demand love, she simply becomes the kind of woman who naturally receives it. And not just any kind of love, the kind that is deep, unwavering, and freely given. The reality is, feminine energy is not about games. It is not about manipulation, pretending not to care, or withholding affection. It is about alignment. It is about stepping into a version of yourself that is deeply rooted in self-worth. A woman who has mastered this does not cling to relationships that deplete her. She does not stay where she is not honored. She is not afraid to walk away when she knows she deserves more. And because of this, she never truly loses. She only makes space for something greater. This is not always easy. It requires a shift in mindset, a letting go of control, a deep trust in oneself and in life. It requires a willingness to release attachment, to stop forcing, to lean back and know that when you exude this energy, the right things naturally gravitate toward you. And they do, every single time. If you've ever watched a woman who fully embodies her feminine energy, you've felt it. She is captivating in a way that has nothing to do with looks and everything to do with presence. She is the woman who walks into a room and commands attention without saying a word. She is the woman who radiates a quiet confidence that makes people want to know her story. She is the woman who does not need to demand respect because it is given to her freely, not because she asked for it, but because she embodies it. So many women have been conditioned to believe they must do more, prove more, give more in order to be loved. But the truth is, the most powerful thing a woman can do is simply be. Be in her knowing, be in her confidence, be in her ability to receive rather than chase. Because the moment she does, everything shifts. This is not just about relationships, this is about life. Feminine energy is not limited to romance. It is a way of being that transforms everything it touches. It is the energy that allows abundance to flow with ease. It is the energy that creates opportunity, that magnetizes success, that turns dreams into reality without force. It is the energy of the woman who walks through life with an effortless certainty, knowing that what is meant for her will never pass her by. The greatest thing a woman can do is trust herself. Trust her intuition. Trust that she does not need to chase, control, or force anything to receive what is already hers. She is powerful beyond measure when she remembers this, and when she steps into that power, the world takes notice, because a woman in her true feminine energy is unstoppable. Not because she is loud, not because she is aggressive, but because she is undeniable. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who knows her worth. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, she doesn't shrink herself to fit into someone else's life. She moves through the world with an air of quiet confidence, knowing that she is enough exactly as she is. And that is what makes her unforgettable. She doesn't demand attention, she commands it. She is the woman who lingers in a man's mind long after she's gone. The one who sets the standard, the one who makes an impact without even trying. Because she understands something most people don't. The power of detachment. Detachment is not about being cold or distant. It's not about shutting people out or acting like you don't care. It's about self-respect. It's about knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to settle for anything less than you deserve. It's about standing in your own power, knowing that your happiness, your fulfillment, your worth, none of it is dependent on anyone else. And that is the most attractive thing in the world. When a woman practices detachment, something incredible happens. She naturally filters out the men who aren't serious, who are just looking for a good time, who don't have the depth or the courage to truly show up. She doesn't have to chase. She doesn't have to convince. She doesn't have to wonder. Because the men who aren't willing to meet her at her level, they remove themselves from the equation. And the men who recognize her worth, they rise to the occasion. The truth is, people value what they have to work for. It's human nature. If something comes too easily, if it requires no effort, no investment, no challenge, it loses its appeal. That's why the woman who stands firm in her worth, who doesn't compromise just to keep someone around, who isn't afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't serve her, she is the one who commands long-term commitment. Not because she plays games, but because she refuses to play at all. There's a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that she is the prize, that her presence is a privilege, not a convenience, that she is not here to be chosen, she is here to choose. And that shift, that is when everything changes. Because a woman who knows her worth doesn't settle for breadcrumbs. She doesn't entertain half-hearted efforts. She doesn't waste time on someone who doesn't see her full value. She knows that love is not about convincing someone to want her. It's about finding someone who already does. Think about it. How many times have you seen a woman give and give and give, bending over backward to accommodate someone who won't even meet her halfway? How many times have you seen a woman shrink herself, dim her light, suppress her needs, just to keep a relationship alive? And what happens? She ends up exhausted, drained, resentful, and worst of all, she ends up losing herself in the process. But the woman who stands firm, the woman who holds herself to a higher standard, she doesn't have to endure that kind of pain. Because she knows that love is not meant to be a constant struggle. It's meant to be a partnership, a deep and mutual respect, a space where both people show up fully, willingly, consistently. This kind of woman is rare, not because she is special or different or better than anyone else, but because she chooses herself first. She chooses not to wait around for someone to recognize her worth. She knows her worth. She chooses not to chase because she understands that what is truly meant for her will never require her to beg for it. She chooses not to settle because she would rather be alone than be with someone who doesn't see her full value. The world will tell you that you need to do more, give more, prove more, be more in order to be worthy of love. But that is a lie. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. You do not need to convince anyone to love you. The right person will know. The right person will show up. The right person will match your energy, your effort, your commitment, not because you had to fight for it, but because they want to. Detachment is the secret weapon of the woman who commands long-term commitment, because it allows her to let go of anything that isn't aligned with her highest self. It allows her to trust that what is meant for her will find her. It allows her to walk away from what no longer serves her without fear, without regret, without looking back. And that kind of confidence, that kind of self-assuredness, It is intoxicating. It is irresistible. It is the foundation of every strong, lasting, and deeply fulfilling relationship. Because at the end of the day, love is not about finding someone to complete you. It is about finding someone who complements you, who sees you for exactly who you are and chooses you fully, completely, without hesitation. And that kind of love, that kind of commitment, it only comes to the woman who knows she deserves it. So ladies, the question is, are you ready to become that woman? Are you ready to stop chasing, stop overgiving, and stop settling? Are you ready to step into your power, knowing that you are already enough? Because the moment you do, everything shifts. The right men will start chasing you, the wrong men will fade away, and most importantly, you will feel free, confident, and completely at peace, whether you have a man by your side or not. And that is real power.